Hello and welcome to the Bike Show. Now, it is our second very happy week here at Bike Show headquarters because Matt is still on holiday. So to continue that happy theme, here's Don on something that's fast, red, Italian, very sexy, but with a dash of practicality added.
I don't know if you've ridden a superbike lately, but they're a bit crap. Now, before a lynch mob arrives at our studio to flail us alive, let me explain. You see, I agree that superbikes are the Everest of modern vehicle technology. They have engines more advanced than anything else in the world. They have electronics that are so sophisticated that you and I will never actually properly comprehend them. And the chassis, well, they just defy physics. But spend a day on one, a day in the seat on a road like this one, and I'm telling you, by the end of it, your pelvis will be ground to a pulp, your spine will be fused together, your kidneys will rattle loose and come out of your nose, and your eyes will pop out and hang by your kidneys. If you don't believe me, give it a go. But that is why we have bikes like this one, the Ducati Super Sport S. It is part of a class Ducati is re-entering called the Sport Tourer class. They are bikes that are capable enough through the bends and can hang on to the coattails of some top superbikes, but will not leave the rider permanently disabled. Let's look at the ergonomics of this motorcycle. Now take the screen for example. It has two settings. It has this, which is sporty mode, and then it has leisure mode. The handlebars, I mean, look at them. They're nice and high up, so I'm not putting too much weight on my wrists, unlike a superbike where they would be down there somewhere. Also the foot pegs, I mean, they're nice and low, so I've got lots of room to move over here, lots of room to stretch my legs, whereas on a superbike they're about 10 feet above my head. Now, I don't know how they do this with this bike Ducati, because either the motor doesn't generate a lot of heat or they dissipate it very well, but let's just say that if I were on a superbike now, I'd have to have my eggs hard boiled. That's the touring part out of the way, but what about the sport? The chassis features some of the old and some of the new. It uses a steel trellis frame like the Ducati superbikes of old, but with the engine as a stress member, the top frame, subframe and aluminium single-sided swing arm bolt onto it, just like a Panigale. Now on this, the S model, there are a few add-ons. For example, you get Olin suspension, there's a both-ways quick shifter, and you get that little cover for the pillion seat. But on both this and the standard model, you get such things as ride-by-wire throttle. Now that means you get 3 rider modes, you get all sorts of different traction control options, you get sporty ABS. There's even a function that lets you choose what type of tires you have, what sort of grip tires you have, so it can recalibrate for that. Now that is cool. Then, lest we forget, the throbbing heart of the Supersport, and a heart it is. The motor is plugged directly from the Hypermotor 939, and to be quite honest, it suits this bike more than it does the Hyper. It's a 937cc V-twin liquid-cooled unit that pushes a plucky 113 horsepower and torques 96 Newton meters. In a world of nuclear Panigales and Diavel heavy-duty machines, this seems a little lightweight, but then it is fast enough to get even a slightly experienced rider in trouble, and yet not enough to scare anyone away. And to be quite honest with you, I don't really care that it only makes 113 horsepower. It feels punchy as hell from where I am right now. I mean, here I go, third gear, about 60 k's an hour, and I open the throttle and yeah, that's good fun. That's good fun. You know, but more than that, it's got that whole V-twin power plant. I mean, V-twin is a lot. It says a lot. The 4 cylinders, I mean, they're great. They make a lot of power. They do it very efficiently. They're very smooth. But there's no, I don't know, it hasn't got that life that goes with it. I mean, even the most responsible person will every now and again do this. Oh yes. Remember that this motor is very similar in capacity to the 959 Panigale, but then pushes quite a bit less power. That means that this motor is seriously under stress and should last a good few touring miles.
By the looks of things, Ducati have not gone for the whole big sports tourer thing. They've rather gone for small, nimble and comfortable enough. I mean, this thing feels tiny. It feels even smaller than a superbike. You can ride it through town, through traffic. It feels great. It feels fantastic. It feels nimble. It's not intimidating, you know, but at the same time, I'm sitting here, the seat is really comfortable, the position's great, put the screen in up mode and everything feels great. I can sit here all day. Obviously this is a sport tourer, so there's a sporty side, there's a touring side. Touring side, a bit more luxurious. Part of the fun about this S model is a both ways quick shifter, so you let go of the clutch when you pull off and you never have to pull it again. How luxurious is that? Oh, listen to that. But at the same time, if you want to get into sport mode, you can go through some corners like this.
All very nice, Don, but there is an alternative to the Ducati. Actually, there's quite a few alternatives, but I've chosen this one, the Kawasaki Z1000SX. I've always really liked this bike, and now it's been updated for 2017. And what was quite a traditional and slightly old-fashioned package has just been brought right up to date and made a whole lot better. Sometimes a bike is so good at what it does that you wonder why the manufacturer bothers to try and improve it. Such a bike is the Kawasaki Z1000SX. It's been around for a good few years now, and it's always been a fast, comfortable, competent and practical bike. A smooth and powerful engine, good chassis and brakes, and typically brilliant build quality. However, time marches on, and more specifically, electronics march on, and manufacturers simply have to keep up with the Joneses if they're not to fall behind in sales. So while Kawasaki was updating electronics, they decided to give the bike a facelift as well. Stand the old version alongside the new one, and the differences are small but noticeable. The previous generation was not a bad looking bike at all, but the revisions for 2017 have brought it bang up to date. The face of the bike is more aggressive. The indicators are flush with the bodywork, the headlight is now LED, the pillion seat has been reprofiled, there are new instruments, a new and slightly lower seat, and the fairing is wider to provide more wind protection. It's a whole host of detailed changes that have made all the difference visually. Thankfully, Kawasaki has left the engine well alone. How could you improve on it? It was always turbine smooth, powerful and bulletproof, and it still is. There are no hiccups from the fuel injection, and in character, it's more sports than tourer, although brilliant in both guises. In keeping with the tradition of sports tourers, the available performance is deceptive, and a weather eye has to be kept on the speedo if fines are to be avoided. And then there's the electronics. The previous model had traction control and ABS, but the difference between then and now is night and day. For 2017, things get a lot more advanced, and Kawasaki has added a 6-axis IMU to provide cornering ABS and lean-sensitive traction control. In other words, the new bike does a lot of thinking for you. So, the engine's a peach, the chassis is fantastic, the wind protection is brilliant, and the brakes are perfectly good. The electronics are bang up to date, so what's not to like? There are two glaring omissions. The first isn't too much of a deal breaker, but no heated grips. Why not? It's a sports tourer. You want to be doing long distances, you might be doing it through inclement weather, and it'd be nice to keep the hands warm. The second omission is a bit more serious. Cruise control. Where is the cruise control, Kawasaki? I know that adding both those things can add to the cost, but when you look at the competition you're up against, then you've got to find a way of keeping the customers coming into your dealership or not going to the competitions. Finally, I'm not massively convinced by the white digit on the black face of the new dash. It looks very stylish, but it can be difficult to read with a quick glance. But let's not get too bogged down in details. This is still a great bike. Competent, fast, comfortable, nicely updated over the last model, while losing none of the essence that made the first generation of the bike so good. Kawasaki has been clever in leaving well enough alone and improving by degrees rather than make extensive changes. That approach is sure to retain old fans and attract new ones. So there you have it. Ducati Super Sport S and Kawasaki Z1000SX. Two approaches to the same destination. Don, I find myself in an unusual position. I don't know which bike I would choose. This is a fantastic bike and it looks great. That's a fantastic bike and it looks great. So I think the only way we can choose a winner is empirically.
Yes.
So, off you go. Hit me with your best shot.
All right. Let's start with horsepower.
138.
Right. 113.
Oh, so I've got 25 more.
Okay, but there's more than that. I mean, your torque, come on.
110 Newton meters.
Damn. Okay, 96, but you know, there's more than that. I mean, have you got traction control?
Yes, lean sensitive. Oh, and 25 more horsepower.
Okay, ABS?
Yes, also lean sensitive and, 25 more horsepower.
How about Öhlins suspension?
No, but I've got 25 more horsepower.
Okay, a both ways quick shifter?
No, but again, 25 more horsepower.
Okay, come on, what's the price then?
155,995.
You're joking, right?
No, that's being deadly serious.
Does that come with both wheels?
Yep. And 25 more horsepower.
Oh, God, okay.
And you are sitting at?
Ducati Super Sport is 169.
But that's not the Super Sport, is it? That's the Super Sport S.
I was hoping you wouldn't notice that. That's 188.
188.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'm at 155 and 138 horsepower, and you're at 188 and 113.
Yeah, but there's more to life than... I can't believe I'm saying this. There's more to life than horsepower.
I think on that note, where Don has just admitted that there's more to life than horsepower, we should go to an ad break.